Hello?
Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy?
What's happening?
Not much. I had laid down and I took a nap. And I say, well, when I get up, I got to run to the store and get a couple things. And right when my phone was ringing, I was still laying down. So when I looked at it and I seen it was you, I said, well, let me give you a call now. Because I'm going to get up because I got to run out and do a last little bit of shopping. I got it, for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. No, I was just, I don't know if you had been looking at anything or seeing any of these build-ups. Like with the Jose Benavidez. I don't know if you've seen any of the Devin Haney stuff. Anything out there about boxing.
Well, I haven't really seen any real big build-ups about it. It's probably out there, but I just haven't really chimed in on it yet. What's hitting your ear right now that you want to talk about?
No, the big fight is Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez. And
yeah, I know.
And it's one of them things to where a lot of people praise Andrade's boxing acumen and everything, and they're saying that he really never had the chance to really fight that big name because he been chasing down Canelo. He had that walk away. He walked away from Jamel, but Triple G was running from him. Like everybody was just running from him, and now this is his big shot. But Benavidez is coming into his own. And I'm not gonna lie, this is the most mature I've ever heard David Benavidez doing the whole build-up. He didn't say one disrespectful thing. I mean, he's saying all the right things, man. I've never seen this man that poised and that focused. And Andrade is basically saying that he's gonna see this a difference when basically when you can't hit what you used to hitting, but somebody can hit you with power, like that can put you down. So they talking that talk, and they're both saying that this is the best fight that can happen at 168 because word on the curb is that Canelo Alvarez, instead of fighting the winner, which was alleged, because I think this is going to be mandated, he's going to fight Jaime Munguia next.
What do you think about his decision to fight Munguia?
It's Munguia's. I mean, I guess it's an ode to, the whole, the other Mexican star because, I don't know how Munguia goes under the radar and he gets away with half of the things that he was able to get away with because the man is 42-0. And this kind of reminds me of Zurdo Ramirez, Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. When he finally came up against Bivol, I mean, it looked like it was like eons and levels, and I think he might have been 40-0 or something crazy like that. And everybody was like, oh, and that was the same year. That was after he did that to Canelo. That's after Bivol did that to Canelo. So that's why I call him the Matador. But for Munguia, because we never heard talks of Munguia. Munguia was also the mandatory to Andrade for like 3-4 years, and he said he didn't want it. Don't ask for it. I mean, he didn't want to fight anybody. I think he finally got a Derevyanchenko. He got a Gabe Rosado, but Gabe Rosado was like, at this stage in his career, a great fighter. I like watching him because I know what he's gonna bring. But when we talking about, the creme de la creme, the people that's up there, like Munguia's coming on the scene, and you got to think. Canelo was on record saying, calling Andrade, you're a horrible fighter. You just want to pay there. You just want this and this and that. He don't get a shot. Everybody been calling for him and Benavidez. Benavidez don't get a shot. David Morrell Jr., he been fighting his mandatory for the WBA since 2021. He don't get a shot. Bivol was willing to take his rematch, but he wanted to do it at 168 where Canelo actually had something at stake to lose. And he was like, nah, I want to fight him back at 75. And Bivol was like, nah, because if I do this to you again at 75, it's going to be the same excuse As far as, oh yeah, it's just, you know, it's just not a weight class for you, even though he had went up and did that to Kovalev before that. So for Munguia to come out of the bushes, because Jamal, I mean, he stepped away for 2.5 years for mental health. He's just now coming back, and he's on the undercard, which is a bright spot. But it's more names that he hasn't fought that everybody is saying that's the right fight. Because remember, Jamel coming up from 54 to 68 was a shock to everybody. Everybody thought it was going to be Maul, but Maul said, hey, look, I had to let my brother have it because I had to be mature enough to say I wasn't mentally right, you know, to take that chance. So Munguia came out of nowhere for Munguia to duck all the smoke that he's ducked. And I'm not taking away from the kind of fighter he is, but that's almost like jumping the line, you know, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think your analogy is definitely on point. You know, you do your homework and you know these fighters. And I'm just looking forward to have some good competitive bouts, something that the fans really want. You know, because a lot of times, you know, these fights might be built up, but then these fights may not live up to the actual hype. But hopefully, with these upcoming bouts, these guys will go in with the notion that they are trying to win. And nobody's going to be an easy duck for anybody. And hopefully they'll go in and we'll see some good boxing again.
That's what I'm aiming for. And it sounds like, you know, it's a healthy competition between Andrade and David Benavidez. And for me, I say all the time, it took a while. And, you know, I got copyright strikes and all kind of stuff, man, when I used to really do my analysis just like everybody else. When I do my analysis just like everybody else, where Benavidez, either one, Jose and David, I got copyright strikes for. So I stopped doing material on him, and it's like, it's sad that I'm being truthful. And now that he's coming of age, it's like now he won me over after Caleb Plant fight, because I said, nah, that kind of the experience of Caleb being in that moment with Canelo, taking those punches, you know what I'm saying, learning that maybe it was a gas tank thing, you know, but having a more superior footwork than David, I felt as though he won me over by actually beating Caleb Plant. That was like the coming of age fight for him. So now I'm like, okay, you're dealing with a more savvy guy. He's an Olympian. You know, he's a southpaw. He's kind of awkward, but he has power where he can put you down. He's known to put his opponents down, like at least in the first quarter, a lot of times in the first round. So after that, if he can just stick and move, and because of his awkwardness, he's not going to be there to be hit. You know, you can, but rumor has it he's a front runner, which is just like everybody else who faced David Benavidez, because as time go on, all them thudding punches and stuff and that accumulation, arm, neck, face, stomach, you know what I'm saying, his change of speed that you talked about, you compared him to somebody from back in the day that you said he reminded you of. I'm like, man, maybe he hit a little bit harder than what we think, but it's the fact that as the fight go on and that engine's revved up, them punches get harder and harder, and he kind of tenderizes you over time. So this is a very interesting fight for me. I don't think that it got the publicity that it needed, but I'm kind of excited about that one.
Yeah, Benavidez, the way he fights and the way he wears his opponent down throughout the course of the fight reminds me of how Joe Calzaghe used to dismantle his opponents. That's exactly what he reminds me of. Calzaghe was a high volume puncher, and he stayed punching, and he would have good combinations in the inside, and he would just keep pressing the fight. And his ability not to come into fights out of shape and would be able to out-finesse his opponents. He reminds me a lot of Joe Calzaghe. And Calzaghe, during his time period, beat all the big major fights that he had to encounter. You know, people like Bernard Hopkins, you know, Hopkins couldn't beat him, you know, and he was just a high finesse fighter. But, you know, Bernard wasn't at his, you know, his top of his career.
Yeah.
But yet still, Bernard was still beating everybody that was they were putting in front of him at that time. But Calzaghe was too much of a finesse fighter, and he just dominated the fight with him and Hopkins.
Yeah, that's what that's kind of like what I see as far as his that high volume and how he punches, because he got some interesting combinations. But you know, this is a I would say a 50-50. I made my prediction to say that Andrade, you know what I'm saying, I just believe that this is his moment, and I think that a loss for him would be, he would be in a worse position than a loss for David, because like Andrade said, he said, man, he's still young, and he was talking this stuff now. He said he's still young, he could suffer defeat and bounce back. But I think that is, at the end of the day, that's the truth. I think that this fight is more pressure on Andrade to win. A lot of people are saying he's the more you know, he has the higher IQ, the better skill set. You know, that's what they're saying. So I think it's more pressure on him than it is David. But David, it's like sometimes them big bright lights, we've seen what happened when them big bright lights come on, and who we think these people are in certain fights, that's not who they really are. So it's a lot of question marks. I think it's one that I'm gonna be excited to watch. And then you got Jamal making his debut, coming back, and he's going up against Jose, who's moved up. Pretty much undersized. He lost to Danny Garcia. He came back. He fought back in April, and he did his thing. He got rid of his opponent. You know what I'm saying? But more importantly, a lot of people was in an uproar about Jamal being able to hold his belts and stuff, and they was comparing it to the Devin Haney situation. They were talking about the Boots situation, since Boots got the belt from Bud and all this, and I was just like, you know, it's three different situations. Two of the same sanctioning body, but it's three totally different situations. And I was basically saying, in the midst of like the Felix Verdejos, the Aaron Hernandez, when people talk about mental health, because people, they'll pull that out when they need to, but like when it comes to certain fighters, they get no credence. Like when Ryan Garcia did it, it was like, oh, he was suffering mental health, he came back, he was more mature. Well, Maul was going through familial things where, you know, he's about to lose his wife and his, you know, access to his children, and how messy that got. And he said he basically had to step away, you know what I'm saying, get his mental health right. He is a lot calmer. He was very meticulous. He wasn't rowdy, and I think, you know, people used to seeing that, you know, that lines only, that rah, you know, stuff. But he was saying, look, I realize I don't gotta be like that. He's like, I'm in my physical and mental right now. My mental is on a level to where my physical used to be, so I feel like I'm in my prime. And I think they kind of gave him, in my opinion, they gave him an alley hoop with Jose, because I say he put on the best round against Bud, like that 6th round against Bud. But I think that he's a little undersized, and we gotta not forget that Maul is undefeated. Like, he had, like, people be talking about Devin Haney and Earl Spence. Maul Charlo has knocked people out from that jab, like when he's on point. When he's on point, I mean, he made Dennis Hogan do a back tumble. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't really realize the kind of power, like what he did to J-Rock. Like, they don't really realize when he focus and he commit to that punch, he could push that button at any point in time, and he got a lot to prove. And it's happening at 163 in preparation for him to go to 168. You know what I'm saying? This opened up the door for him and Andre, that winner. If Canelo do decide to go a route, he got Plant, who won him, and he won Plant. So it's a lot on his shoulders in this fight. I think the temperament of Jose, he can't get out on you. And even though he got one leg, pretty much he's limiting his mobility, but he can't get out on you. And check this out. I'm gonna get your opinion on this. I'm gonna get your opinion on this. I know I said a lot, but I was coming around to this because this is so funny, but it's something we really gotta talk about. Remember how I was always saying, man, it seems like sparring ain't even sacred no more. It's like, man, it's like it used to be a spot where if you working on something, especially if you getting that good work, somebody gonna slip through the cracks. Like, you might get dropped. I mean, I don't think them dudes back in the day, they wanted you to be able to sharpen them. Yeah, they fought more frequent, but they wanted their good work. And if they got sat down, they're like, oh, okay, cool. They learned from it and got back up. But now it's being recorded. And Jose Benavidez came out talking about how Bud ain't the only one that dropped Spence. For one, I think it's messy. But then it's like sparring ain't sparring. And is it sacred anymore?
Yeah, you're right. Because, you know, back in the day, you didn't even hear these type of comments made about sparring. You know, what happens in sparring was sparring. And nowadays, you get people that want to put a lot of credibility in what happens in the gym, you know, as compared to, they want to make it equally comparable to what happens on fight day. And to me, it's not the same.
It's not.
You know, I remember Angelo Dundee, okay, what he said about Muhammad Ali, okay? He said Muhammad Ali was the worst gym fighter you ever want to see. He said he was just a terrible gym fighter. But everything he did in preparation, when he got under the lights, it all came together. But he said, watching him in the gym sparring, say he just wasn't that type of opponent doing sparring. But he really came to life in the actual fight. So, you know, I guess what the motivation is for some people when they jump in there and they spar. Some people really realize that, hey, I'm sparring, I'm training for a fight. This is not the fight. What I'm trying to do now is to polish up some things that I'm doing. And I may even try something and get hit in sparring, but it's only in preparation for when I get into the real fight. And then I know some do's and don'ts that may not be as successful. So, you know, putting a whole lot into sparring, trying to make a determination as to, oh, the fight's gonna go like this, because when they spar, this happens. No, that does not always come to fruition.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the climate of the times, and I was saying, man, when is enough gonna be enough? Because I think, you know, a part of that is like what's kind of compromising the sport, because it's like if you really all that and you want to come in and we sparring, like, why are we recording it? You know what I'm saying? But then again, I'm a different kind of dude. I know when I was in the army, man, I used to have a problem with people. I say, hey, man, at midnight, man, you can meet me. You know what I'm saying? We can meet in the back. We can meet in the latrine. You know what I'm saying? And don't tell nobody. I ain't gonna tell nobody. We can meet. You know what I'm saying? And you beat me up. You know what I'm saying? You fuck me up, or I'll fuck you up. Nobody ever know. Man, I ain't following you nowhere. I'm like, shut the fuck up then. Like, because you're trying to work on something, and if you always hesitant, somebody gonna have a recorder in the bag, or they're gonna try to, like, you know, bring it out later on down the road. Like, that's all sloppy, because a lot of people don't even spar each other if they know that this is, like, if you can campaign in this weight class, like, yeah, when you real young, or when you first getting your feet wet, we might touch bases, but knowing that we gotta see each other, we ain't gonna do it. But then it's around robbing the guys that go around at certain weight classes, and they'll tell, hey, man, this is what's going on. Oh, yeah, man, he's hurt to the ribs and he's doing that. Yeah, I guess it's a competitive advantage. And if you can get it, I guess some people get it in performance enhancing. Some people get it by, you know, spying and sparring. But I would love for it to go back to where everybody can get that good work. It's put your phones away. We're going to go to an undisclosed location. This is how many rounds it's going to be. What happens in the gym, stay in the gym, and that's it. You know, because it's getting to the point to where now, you know, and I know to an extent, I know the betting odds and all that, because people be talking like, oh yeah, like when I go back to this all the time, like when they said that Erickson Lubin sparked Berlanga in sparring. It seemed like right around that time and shortly after, he's been kind of like dipping down, you know what I'm saying, after he went on his knockout streak. But it's like, to a certain extent, that might have compromised that man's, even though I'm not the biggest Berlanga fan, but you see where I'm going with this, right?
Exactly. I definitely do. But yeah, sparring back in the day was sparring. And I'm gonna tell you, you might have heard that a person got knocked down doing sparring, but they never promoted who the individual was, as if this person is a threat to the individual that he was helping to get prepared for a fight. Because a lot of times in sparring, in preparation for a fight, you may not be fighting anybody, or I will not fight, but you may not be training with somebody that's really on your radar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You training with somebody that has similar characteristics to the style that the opponent you getting ready to face. And in many cases, a lot of times, that person you sparred isn't a viable competitive for you in your particular weight class. These are individuals that you're using to try to prepare you for a person that is actually on your radar that you're getting ready to fight. So this scrutiny about what they do now, about who spars who, I think it's just being put to the forefront in a manner in which it wasn't done like that in the past. And you know, it is not a predictor of what's going to happen when these guys actually fight. You know?
Yeah, and I also think that it backfires a lot of the time, because it's somebody, I'm not gonna say any names, but they supposed to be the Lord of sparring. But I mean, when the big bright lights come on, man, that's not what we see, man. We see a whole lot of clinching, you know, a whole lot of, you know, we don't see the great, you know, spar champion, the spar king, you know, and then, you know, we hear about, oh yeah, man, this person is nice because they get work all the time with this person and Bud, and you know, yeah, they get the best. And then when the big bright lights come on, we don't see it. So it's like, man, these young guys gotta realize that, man, it's just like everything in life, man. A gun can be used to protect your home, or it can be used to rob somebody. Now you can use that to embarrass somebody, but then when you build your stock up to where you just the baddest man, you in the mess hall with your chest out, and then you come out and you drop a donut, you know what I'm saying, that it goes against you. So I say don't throw caution to the wind, man, and let's get sparring back to being sacred, man. Like, cause it's gonna be beneficial for everybody. That way it's some mystery when people get in there. You know, don't build everybody anticipation up and then you come out and you set a record for the least amount of punches landed and thrown. Like, come on. So that's just a little an aspect of what's going on. But as we get closer to, we got the Regis and Devin thing going on, and that's not until December, but you know, that's coming up next. But I guess on a major level, we got that fight, and then we got Jesse Bam Rodriguez coming up. But in general, those are the major fights. You know, I'm pulling for Jamal. I'm pulling for Andrade. But in that fight, I say, man, let the best man win. And I still haven't heard any word on Earl. Like, did you see anything about Earl? Like, is that on or what?
You know what? For right now, that's running hot and cold. You know, at one time, you know, Bud said that he was sure he'd give Earl the rematch. But then he came back and said, yeah, we'll fight the rematch, but it's gonna have to be at 147. And see, he already know that that's not the probability of them fighting at 147 because it was already disclosed what the gameplay was. The gameplay is they would meet at 147 and then they would move that fight up to the next weight class. So what Bud is attempting to do is going against the game plan. So right now, I don't know what Bud's going to do, but hopefully, I think it would be better for Bud if he's going to fight him at 154 because it's already determined that 147 he's kind of outgrown that weight class, and he needs to be a little heavier. And that's what his plan was anyway, 154. But he hanged around just to try to get the fight with Crawford, So, kind of like how Fulton was going to move up, but instead of moving up, he said, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to take this fight with Inoue because this is a fight that everybody want to see. And if I vacate the division right now and move up, it's going to take away from what the boxing fans want to see. So I commend him for staying at that weight class to at least get the fight with Inoue. I mean, he wasn't successful with it, but I got to at least admire his heart and his delivery and giving the fight fans a fight that they really want to see, And he realized that, okay, I lost this fight, but I can't stay in this weight class anymore. I'm going to move up.
Yeah.
So hopefully for him moving up is a good thing because if he's able to campaign a good enough record at the next weight class, who knows? He may be able to get the rematch with Inoue, and he won't have to cut himself trying to make weight. So him moving up, I think, is a good decision, and who knows? They may meet again.
Yeah, I think they got big plans for that guy. And if you haven't seen him, that guy Robeisy Ramirez, that's the talk of the town right now. And I think they kind of grooming him towards that. I think Bob, him and that guy Morataya, I think he's putting a lot of stock in them guys. For some odd reason, I think them are the kind of guys that he feel like he can market the best. So he was the one that actually got on the Inoue undercard. They do that a lot of times, to have that link in or that drawback and that dialogue to be able to put the production together when they're trying to promote it. So I think all points are leading that way, and that being a showdown that more than likely is going to happen in the States. I'm just foreshadowing, but yeah. Fulton, I haven't heard or seen him much from Fulton. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. When I did the series, I don't get a lot of alerts. I don't really see a lot when I go to look it up. It's not much to come, but I just figured, man, on that series I might have kept it way too real, and for some reason I can't get access. But I think boxing is gonna close out strong. I do think that it's a lot of weight on Devin Haney now because we saw the performance with Shakur. And we saw Regis's last performance. So it's nothing like coming off of a bad performance and coming back and either A, trying to prove that, that was just a bad performance, or, coming back and really getting exposed. I see the overwhelming consistency. And I noticed this is funny. Like when Inoue was coming up, they were saying, "Oh man, he haven't fought there yet." I mean, we don't know what he's gonna be, and you don't know what he. And like even with Shakur, like man, we don't know what he's gonna be at 35, and he stopped Yoshino. We don't know in this, but it's an overwhelming consensus that you know, that Devin Haney, having, you know, got his belts from Kambosos, defending it against him, and then having that performance against Loma, is the overwhelming favorite going into a fight with Regis Prograis, who I admit came in what, 2-3 rounds, dispatched the Vendongo, quicker than Crawford. He went to war with Josh Taylor, who some people arguably say that he won that fight, and Josh Taylor's face looked like hamburger meat. He just stopped Zepeda, who the earlier talks before the Loma fight, if Devin was going to move up, that was going to be the guy that Devin was going to fight. That Zepeda stopped him to get the belt. One of the most avoided boxers in boxing. And all of a sudden, because of the performance against Zorilla, which he wound up getting decision, just like Devin wind up getting the decision with all that bad film we saw. You know, Regis is the underdog and Devin is the overwhelming failure. And I don't know if it's because it's happening out there in the Bay Area, you know, or what. And I just find it interesting. It's this year, like the closeout to this year could be very, very good. Like, you know, so it's still some things to look forward to. Boxing ain't dead. I think it's getting kind of funny. It's getting kind of Hollywood, but it's still some good scraps.
Yeah, look, we're gonna have some good scraps to end the year off, and to end it off with Inoue fighting. I think that's going to be fitting to making the boxing fan happy, because Inoue is on the verge of conquering another weight class. Like you said, you know, conquering 2 weight classes almost like within a year's time. So that's going to actually end this year off, and I'm looking forward to that fight. And not only that fight, I'm looking forward to each of the fights that we just mentioned, because these fights are credible matchmaking events, and everybody has an opportunity to showcase their talent, and hopefully we can get some fights that's going to live up to the hype. You know, because sometimes a fight may not live up completely to the hype. But hopefully, if we get 2 people that are determined that they're going to win, and they put forth all that effort in winning, you're going to see a good fight.
Let me ask you this to wrap it up. Now, just like we kind of had pegged the Inoue. He had moved up, and he was up there, and we was arguing number 1, number 2. Bud came out, put that immaculate performance on against Spence, and he got number 1. If Inoue is to achieve what he's wanting to achieve and what he desired to achieve, you know, the day after Christmas, is he gonna leapfrog Bud, or is it because of Tapales, you know, versus what Bud was able to do against Spence? Like, how would that play out? Would it still be debatable?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, if Inoue is able to stop his opponent, okay, if he's able to knock him out, then there's an argument to be made that if you wanted to put Inoue pound for pound as your best fighter, there's an argument for that. But there's still an equal argument on the side of Crawford that if you want to consider him the best fighter pound for pound. I mean, if somebody wanted to still have Bud pound for pound, it's debatable, okay? But when you look at the history and what each fighter has accomplished, at this particular point, Inoue will have accomplished more than what Bud has accomplished in terms of titles and moving through the various weight classes, you know. But Bud has had 40 fights, and Inoue hasn't had nowhere near that many fights. But the accomplishments that he has ascertained will outshine what Bud has done. But there's still an argument for who is pound for pound the best fighter. Because pound for pound, being the best fighter does not necessarily mean that you have to have more fights than the other fighter. It's just that how dominant and how consistent you've been throughout your career and what have you achieved. So if Inoue is to even look good and stop his opponent, there's still going to be an argument for either side to declare their particular fighter as pound for pound the best fighter. So, that's gonna be up for discussion.
Yeah, I think it's still debatable, and I think people, that's just, I think that's good boxing talk, because that's when you start deciphering. That's really when you start deciphering, because when you actually saw the fights and you knew what the circumstances was, or if it was tougher smoke at the present time, and if you you went from step A to Z faster in a more direct line, like that's when like the historians and the people that's really been following, it'll really separate like the people that's just on the bandwagon, pushing whatever they pushing. So you right. I just wanted to pick your brain. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be present to watch those, because this is being billed as, I'm guessing this is one of the last Showtime events. And you got that guy. Before we go, it's a lot of people high on that guy Matias, and I know the dangers of facing him. I just think that he hasn't faced the right boxer, but he's going to defend his thing, as well. So that's another title defense on a guy that actually is a killer puncher. No word on Gary Antoine, but don't forget. But I'm sure we're gonna probably catch up for that fight. You know what I'm saying? Especially since this is the last fight with Showtime. This is Showtime. Supposedly, allegedly, this is Showtime's last hurrah.
Yeah, but I kind of question that. I gotta wait and see if Showtime is really gonna exit the boxing platform. Because it was that was a big deal when I first heard that they were gonna exit the boxing scene, because there's been a lot of good matchups with Showtime.
Yeah, I know. It's part of me, and I'm a kind of, that's just the rumblings right now. That's why I say allegedly, supposedly, because that's the rumblings right now, and it's kind of hard for me to believe with what they were able to do and what they have access to for them to say, I don't want to make that much money no more doing this. I'd rather make it doing that, unless, because I don't really see movie theaters and all that kind of stuff and all that kind of picking up to really, I don't really see it. So I'm like, why, like, when you didn't put on those best fights with those kind of gates and having the staff and all, being able to assemble the gang whenever you want to, put that product out, it's kind of hard. But maybe it was something that was looming, because it's been rumblings, but I think people were more guessing than anything. So you right, we gotta wait and see, but that's what it's being billed as. That's why I think it'd be good for us to watch that, make sure we get that, instead of seeing it in real time and being able to say, oh yeah, we was there to see, if it is, we were there to see the last live joint that they did,
Yeah, now, when it comes to that, I don't know, to say that you're gonna exit from the business of setting up good matches on Showtime, I could understand it better if Showtime would have said, instead of showcasing a lot of up-and-coming fighters on Showtime. What we're going to do, we're going to primarily get ourselves concerned with the top boxing matches that people want to see. You know, so for example, getting together 2 undefeated champions that's going to fight, and that has already triggered a lot of enthusiasm within the boxing world. Okay, if they were to say that we're going to reserve Showtime, our platform, to only the big fights, I could understand that, and I could see them doing that. But when you say you're going to just get out of all of it, you know, maybe some of the lowercase fighters that they showcase on Showtime, maybe that wasn't really cutting the bill for them, because the popularity of some of these fighters has not been established yet, and they're building a platform that one day they will be out there for the big fight. But for Showtime to say they're going to eliminate all boxing, I don't really get it, because they could still stay on that platform, but only showcase a couple fights a year. It doesn't have to be, you know, the up and coming stars on Showtime. They could still have a part of that market, but to just give it all up, I don't understand why.
In my heart of boxing hearts, that's what I was hoping. I thought the same thing, because I kept going back to Boots. I'm like, hold on, man. Because Boots wasn't necessarily labeled as a PBC fighter. He was a Showtime fighter. They had always clarified that he's with Showtime. So I'm like, man, like, the irony of life is that this man finally get the credential that he always wanted, that big stamp. He got the resume. Like, he like 30 fights in, you know what I'm saying? He's up there. All them fights for him to get that strap, and he's the marquee guy. He's the one that, if you look at his highlights, he's the one that's like, oh yeah, he could be on Sports Center at any point in time. Like, yeah, he got the physique, he from Philly, he got a different look, he got the slogan, in and out like a robbery. He got everything for Showtime to be like, I'm like, hold on, man, you got this young guy waiting in the wings, you know what I'm saying, kicking up all this dust. That's why in my heart of hearts I was like, yeah, they probably just gonna do like a la carte, like a specialty, like a Roof Chris, where you just go and everything is a la carte. Like, it's like, yeah, you paying $23 for the mac and cheese, you know. It's like, you know, but it's special, you know, it's gonna be good. It's a tentative. We not just throwing anything on there. This is what the people really want to see, and it's a way to be able to gauge if it's that much interest. They're gonna pay for it, and you're gonna get compensated based on what they're willing to pay for. If it don't, you know, do what it do, then that's just your pay. That means that, you know, the people dictated what it was. I thought that was a more common approach. A lot of people say, oh man, I don't want to pay for all these pay-per-views. Well, I'm like, well, if they put it on pay-per-view and they do that enough times where you don't want to buy it, they're going to realize that, hey, we got to get better at the matchmaking, so the best are going to have to fight the best. Like, the demand is going to have to be there or nobody wins. Otherwise, we're not going to take on all these additional costs by trying to air, you know, 2 events a month and taking on all that cost and wondering what it's going to do and waiting for that, when we could just do like you said. We take the creme de la creme, the one that we know based on all our analytics, that this is what, like right now, for Showtime to say, all right, in it's November, for Showtime to say, hypothetically, to say in March it's gonna be Benavidez and Canelo. I mean, you could say that fight is gonna, it might do more than Tank and Ryan. I'm gonna say it probably would. Like, I'm not to hate or anything, but I'm just for the demand. Showtime wouldn't lose with that. So I'm in the line of thinking with you, and in my heart of hearts, part of me is like, man, it's not that I'm not willing to change, but for you to know that you already got the stage set and the outline and the blueprint and all the flies out the ointment, because that's on the horizon. So I don't know. You might be on to something, man. In my heart of hearts, I was thinking that, but I'm like, who am I? Because I don't have the sources. You know what I'm saying? I'm not media. You know, I do reach out to some boxers, but I haven't clicked yet. But you know, I don't know. You might be on to something. You might be right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But I ain't gonna hold you. I know you gotta go run and do your errands. But you know, I'm gonna see you tomorrow anyway. And I've been brushing up on that chessboard too. I think I hope you've been brushing up, cause I've been out of sight. But you know, on your part, hopefully it was out of mind. But I've been playing this whole time, so I hope you ready.
Okay, well I tell you what, tomorrow's gonna be a kind of big day. You know, with Thanksgiving and football and all like that. So what I'll do, one day when you really wanna play some chess, me and Mike will come out and we'll make a day where we sit and play some chess. Tomorrow, look, you got 3 football games on tomorrow. So tomorrow is kind of cut out for eating and watching football.
I got you. I just wanted to let you know, in a roundabout way, I've been over here, you know what I'm saying, getting in shape, shadow boxing, you know, cause I'm trying to be part of the Misfits. I think I told you I'm trying to get one of these YouTubers in the ring, man. Cause I'm trying to get up off the, you know what I'm saying, so I've been doing that, and then in my meantime, I'm playing chess and working on the channel, so I'm clicking on all cylinders. I got you back on here. Oh, no, but let me tell you something, though. I don't know if you went back through our comments on our last video, and it was one of our subscribers who said, man, it's always a pleasure to hear Mr. Pittman talk about Inoue. I don't know if you saw that, but I'm trying to tell you, man, don't starve our audience, man.
Listen, when you sent me the podcast that we did, I had already listened to it, because once we, get off the air, usually later that night in the morning, because I'll go to sleep, but then I'll wake up, man, like about 3 o'clock, 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I'll just grab my phone and I will go to our body of work and see if the most recent thing that we talked about is up.
Okay.
So I had listened to it, and then when you sent me the link, I said, well, good, he sent it just in case, to let me know that it is out there. Because I know as soon as we do it, you're going to sit down, you're going to edit some stuff, you're going to get it right for production.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully what's happening is, we are not the only Inoue fans out there, okay? So when a Inoue fan hears our commentary and know that we're not just on this thing where we only credit North American fighters with having the prestige of being the creme de la creme. So what happens is, you're going to hear some comments come from Inoue fans that understand this guy and look at him the way we look at him. And it's good to have a platform for those fighters to listen to. I mean, those fight fans to listen to. Because sometimes your fighter may not be promoted in a way that's comparable to the way you see him. And it's always good to listen to somebody that's kind of looking at it from the same perspective that you're looking at it from. So those people that comment, these people, they enjoy watching Inoue, and they don't want to diminish any type of accomplishment that he's able to achieve. So that puts them in the same boat that we're in, because, we recognize this man has the talent. You can make any excuse you want to make. Oh, he ain't came over to the United States. He haven't fought nobody to go. I don't care about that. If the best people in your weight division are not people from the United States, then you're still fighting the best that you have to fight on your platform. You know?
Yeah.
United States don't have the market just on good fighters. So I'm glad that, you know, there is an audience out there that wants to hear us talk about Inoue, because Inoue is well deserving of being talked about.
But yeah, but the thing is what people don't understand, especially with this channel, is when we recognize talent, we're gonna talk about it. I think that a part of my thing is sometimes I see talent, I talk about them, and the interest don't be there. So it's like I focus more on the people where I know the interest is, who I also like. I don't just do stuff on people who I don't like or support. But I noticed that it's not just with Inoue, it's some Dominican fans like with the De Los Santos, because it's a lot of people that don't take the time to kind of be well versed or comprehensive. Like, I don't just stick to one weight class. I like a certain demographic of fighters where if I like this fighter, I gotta know what the opposition is doing. And a lot of times I start looking at the oppositions and the up and coming, I'm like, hey, hold on, this ain't the only killer in that division. You know what I'm saying? That's why I look at Emmanuel Rodriguez a little bit different after seeing that fight with him and Inoue, and then seeing it with, you know, Gary Antonio, and then, you know, just watching him and how he do his thing in his last fight. I'm like, oh man, you know, so it's good. You know what I'm saying? We gotta feed everybody, man. We're not gonna be pigeonholed based on politics. We got this far without riding on no coattails or playing politics. We gonna keep it going, man. So I appreciate you. Thanks for your time this evening, and you know, we gonna link up tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
All right, then. Well, be safe out there.
Yes, sir. I'm on my way out the door right now. Got a few things just to pick up.
All right.
All right, Mike. You take care, man.
Okay. All right. Peace.
All right, sir.
Well, that was my old head K. You know, we got some Inoue talk and the state of boxing. I got to draw a little bit out of him about some of the politics in boxing, which I try to stay away from, but it's part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, thanks for everybody who like, comment, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for your feedback. We will interact, and you know, we try to have responsible boxing talk over here at BodyWorkBoxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.